they've been going on and on and on about Reform UK for the past month or so, in their leaflets, in their campaigning, in Prime Minister's questions. Sir Keir Starmer regularly attacks Nigel Farage and his colleagues. And if you look at...
Sounds like this guy's a bit annoyed about that.
The leaflets, as I have been doing this evening, the leaflets that have been dropping through letterboxes, it's all been about Labour fighting against reform, nothing about the Greens. And so...
Because the Greens aren't a threat. The majority of the country don't want to legalise heroin and crack.
You could argue that by their bad tactics, the Labour Party have allowed the Greens to win this. But
have they not let them win it so that Reform didn't? Because they were the worst, that they were the better devil than Reform.
Well, I wouldn't say unopposed, but without proper scrutiny and without being attacked by the Labour Party. So clearly, there's going to have to be a big rethink by the Labour Party.
I want to know the numbers.
Clearly vulnerable to a left-wing party like the Greens.
I want to know, did the Greens only win because Restore split the right-wing vote? I want to know.
There'll be those in the party who say, stop trying to, it's a phrase we've heard a few times, stop trying to out-reform reform, because it hasn't worked here. There's been attacks on the Reform Party being racist and so on, but no attacks at all on the Greens' policies. Some would say controversial policies on immigration, on drugs, on the police and so on. Yeah,
it's quite interesting actually. So if the Greens' policy is to legalise heroin and crack cocaine, does that mean they're going to make the police turn a blind eye to heroin and crack cocaine use in Manchester now? Or Gorton and Denton, sorry. Is that what that means?
They've been unchallenged, certainly by Labour, and that's why we've got the result we've got. I have to say, I thought that Hannah Spencer looked a little bit bemused a few moments ago, not used to this sort of thing, obviously. And, of course, the Green Party don't have experienced party officials who are used to managing by-elections and election counts and so on, because, as I say, you just said it's 80. They've stood in 80 by-elections. Well, played 80, won one.
That's because they don't have serious policies. The only reason they've won this is because people hate reform so much, because they're a bunch of racists. People don't want a bunch of racists in charge. They would literally anyone put a bunch of racists in charge, to be honest. Anyone. Clearly, as you have seen. We do not want racists in this country. We don't care. We just don't give a fuck. Fuck off.
About family voting, which monitor.
Oh yeah, they're already claiming that family voting was going on, and they're going to use a Trump-style system to make out that the election wasn't somehow legitimate or these votes weren't legitimate. It's a Trump-style tactic. Reform is literally backed by the same people who backed Trump. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to work out what they're doing, trying to undermine the results of how they lost. They lost because Restore split their vote, essentially.
Got rather irate with the people who were claiming that making the claims about family voting, saying, why didn't you raise this during the day instead of waiting till after 10 o'clock? That prompted them to say, well, actually we did. So that's a dispute between the monitors and indeed Manchester City Council. But as I was saying to Sam a short time ago, as the evening's worn on, we've heard less about that and more about the numbers and the voting and reasons why perhaps Labour have lost. We heard at length from Lucy Powell. I'm just hearing now that Matt Goodwin has spoken following what we believe is the result. Matt Goodwin has said, I don't think the Progressives beat us. I think the Progressives were told how to vote. I think what you saw was a coalition of Islamists and woke progressives that came together to dominate the constituency. Many people in this constituency will look at Gorton and Denton and be appalled. Well, he's not being magnanimous and...
That's not what you call a graceful loser. That's what you call a sore loser. No, it was because we lost because of this and because of this, because the people are stupid.
To say, and a lot of his broadcasts recently will be quite used to his outspoken views. So he's given a verdict on what's happened here. We haven't.
Oh, the left wing are going to be insufferable this week. The right wing are normally the worst, but this week the left are going to be insufferable over this victory. Ugh.
But she's obviously fallen short here. And it's worth remembering, of course, going back to the beginning of this by-election campaign, that Andy Burnham was blocked by a committee of the National Executive of the Labour Party. Lucy Powell was the one person who voted to allow him to stand. 8 others, including Sir Keir Starmer, voted to block Mr Burnham. Now, Mr Burnham has been pretty active supporting Labour during this campaign. He was even out campaigning today, but that hasn't helped Labour win. Sky News spoke to a few voters, some voters during the campaign, and asked if Mr Burnham had been the candidate, would we be more likely to vote Labour? And the answer was a pretty resounding yes. So there will be an inquest, obviously, among other things, about the wisdom of blocking Mr Burnham. But of course, that decision was taken really to protect Sir Keir from the possibility, or the probability, if you like, of a leadership challenge by Andy Burnham, King of the North, who is much more popular than Sir Keir. The polls for Sir Keir are terrible at the moment. A few weeks ago, he faced calls from Labour's leader in Scotland.
Excuse me. I am the King of the North. I am the King of Gateshead. I don't know if you know this, right? But you've just called a public servant the King of the North? Excuse me? I am the King of the North. How dare you? Look, go to my Facebook. You go to my nicknames. Lots of nicknames for me. Where's my nicknames? Details about you. There we go. King of Gateshead. See that? King of Gateshead. I'm the fucking King of the North. You can't call us public servant the king. Fuck off.
Anna Sarwar to stand down. This weekend coming, it's the Scottish Labour Party conference. Now, we thought at one point that Sir Keir was actually going to go to that, but the latest we hear is he's not going, presumably told by Mr Sarwar to stay away. So, no news from the little room. I wish I could bring you some news. I'm sure Sam's got some more questions for me.
I certainly have, John. When you look at Labour, has there been any ability to look at the various voting bundles to see where Labour has done well, or at least better?
Sam,
Here we go.
Returning officers on the platform. We're about to get the declaration.
There we go. Let's hear the numbers. Can't hear you.
Okay, thank you very much, colleagues. Can I just start this evening by offering an enormous thanks to all of the staff from both Manchester City Council and Tameside Council who have worked on the count this evening and diligently through our polling stations in both local authority areas throughout the day. You are the heroes of local democracy, and we thank you very much for all of your efforts and your accuracy in the count. Can I also just remind people as well of what I said at the beginning of proceedings this evening, which is that it is very important in law that the declaration of the result of the poll is heard in full, and I need to make sure that that is achieved this evening. Thank you. So for the UK parliamentary by-election held on the 26th of February 2026, this is the declaration of the result of the poll. I, Tom Stannard, the acting returning officer for the Gorton and Denton constituency, give notice that the total number of votes cast for each candidate was as follows. Jones, Sean, Ian, Alec, the official monster raving loony party, 159.
Hey!
Buckley, Brendan Nicholas, Advance UK, 154.
I got less than the Monster Raven, Looney.
Cadden, Charlotte Ann, Conservative Party candidate, 706. Clark, Daniel David, Libertarian Party UK, 47. Goodwin, Matthew Thomas James, Reform UK, 10,578. Moore, Sebastian, Social Democratic Party, 46. Meg Hare, Joseph Bernard, the Rejoin EU Party, 98. Piercy, Jacqueline, Liberal Democrats, 653. Spencer, Hannah Catherine, the Green Party, 14,980. Stoya Angeliki, Labour Party, 9,364. And Wills Hugo, Communist League, 29. The total number of valid votes cast was 36,814, and the number of ballot papers rejected was as follows. Want of official mark, 0. Voting for more than one candidate, 28. Writing or mark by which the voter could be identified, 0. And being unmarked or void for uncertainty, 62. That makes the total number of rejected ballot papers 90. The total number of ballot papers verified as returned was 36,904, and the percentage turnout was therefore 47.62%. So I hereby declare that Hannah Catherine Spencer is duly elected Member of Parliament for Gorton and Denton constituency.
Congratulations.
So there we have it, the results of the Gorton and Denton by-election. The Green Party win. Let's listen to Hannah Spencer.
I didn't grow up wanting to be a politician. I'm a plumber. And 2 weeks ago, during all this, I also qualified as a plasterer. Because even in chaos, even under pressure, I get things done. I am no different to every single person here in this constituency. I work hard. That is what we do. Except things have changed a lot over the last few decades, because working hard used to get you something. It got you a house, a nice life, holidays. It got you somewhere. But now, working hard, what does that get you?
I told my parents this when I was like 17 in 2007, that working hard no longer paid in this country. Like, I literally sat and watched people who worked the hardest in call centres or offices or retail or fast food. I watched the hardest working people be kept where they are so that they made their managers look like they were doing a better job than they were. So as far as I was aware, working hard gave your managers the expectation that you should always work hard, and if you didn't, you were slacking, and you weren't rewarded for working hard, and everyone who wasn't working hard was given the same rewards and pay as you. But when you started to work as hard as them, people noticed because you were a hard worker. So not only did it not pay to work as in for promotion and for advancement within employment, you were getting shit pay. You couldn't afford to rent. You could afford your rent, sure, but you couldn't afford to buy a property. You couldn't afford to buy a car. Literally, in 2007, I think your minimum wage was about £800 after tax. £680 of that was, your electric, your gas, your bills, your rent, blah blah blah, and then you had like £120 for food for a month. Like it was enough, but it was a struggle. It was a struggle. Literally, I was working full time, having to skip metros because I couldn't afford the metro. It was that bad. It's no better now. It's far worse. Hard work in Britain does not pay. I'm sorry, it does not pay. It does not pay. I get more money by the government not to work because I'm on PIP, and Universal Credit, which used to be ESA. I am fully disabled. Well, not physically, but mentally. Special problems like schizophrenia and stuff. post-traumatic stress disorder, caused by the police, actually. And I have never, ever had a job that paid me better than the government's paid me not to work. Ever. Ever. In fact, 99% of jobs paid me the exact same money I would have earned after tax sitting on benefits. Near enough every single business. If you start paying people more money in this country for working, people will work harder. But if you're going to pay them a slave wage, no. People don't want to work anymore. People don't want to work for struggling. Nobody should have to spend 40 hours a week working to struggle. To fucking struggle. What's the point? What is the fucking point? We still live in a world of slavery. It's just covered with paper contracts and a denial.
Because talk to anyone here and they will tell you. The people who work hard but can't put food on the table, can't get their kids' school uniforms, can't put their...
There's literally parents out there working hard as they can. Two parents can't afford a holiday, can't afford fucking a new car or something, you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. It's insane. Two parents working should be able to afford a holiday every year. They should have plenty surplus expenses for takeaways, for family trips out, for anything the kid needs for school. Like, two working parents should have more disposable income than they need. And yet, they work so hard for so little. Why? Why? Why do we let these companies and the government do this to people? I don't know. I don't know why you let them do it. I don't.
They're heating on, can't live off the pension they worked hard to save for, can't even begin to dream about ever having a holiday, ever. Because life has changed. Instead of working for a nice life, we're working to line the pockets of billionaires. We are being bled dry. And I don't think it's extreme or radical to think working hard should get you a nice life.
It's the same thing when I've lived in private rented accommodation. I have refused to decorate. Refused outright, because I'm very good at decorating, to be honest. And I did this place myself, right? These walls didn't look like this when I moved in, I can tell you now. And I'm not going to improve the property value of someone who's exploiting me for rent. No. So some of you out there will literally go and rent a property off some landlord, decorate it for them, spend your own money decorating it, only to improve the value of their property so they can charge you more money in rent. And you don't even think about it. You don't even think about it. Oh, well, of course my landlord wouldn't charge me more rent for raising the property value by decorating it. Yeah, he fucking would. Yeah, he would.
And I don't...
Like, every single way you're getting... You go to Tesco's and they're exploiting you for potatoes and chicken and tomatoes. You go to the butchers, they're not exploiting you. They're trying to give you a fair price to compete with the supermarkets. But the supermarkets, exploiting you. All these big companies exploiting you. Amazon, Google, Apple, Microsoft. All of these companies like Sky, Virgin Media, ripping you off, charging you more money than they need to charge you because they can get away with it. It's like if there was only one pub in Britain, they could charge £100 for a pint, and there's nothing you could fucking do about it. They're the only pub in Britain, mate. What are you going to do? Go to another pub? No, you'll pay the £100. It's fucking stupid, but that's how it works.
I think that if you're not able to work, that you should still have a nice life. I think that absolutely everybody should get a nice life.
I sat and watched my parents work their arse to the fucking ground, breaking their backs to work hard, just to financially struggle. Just to financially struggle, to be honest. And we were one of the lucky ones. One of the lucky ones, because when we were growing up, my mum and dad didn't have to pay rent, because we lived in the grounds of a private school, and my dad worked for that private school. So rent charges didn't exist for us when we were young. We paid our council tax and the energy costs, but we didn't have to pay rent, as far as I'm aware. So we had 3 holidays every year. So to the observer, looking outside in, we looked like a rich family. We lived in the grounds of a rich private school, and we went on 3 holidays a year. There was 2 cars in the garage. No, No, we were poor as fuck. My parents didn't have to pay rent. So we looked rich, but we weren't.
Life. And clearly, I'm not the only person who thinks that, because I've made clear my...
That's interestingly why my brother is such a stuck-up twat as well. Why he thinks my older brother, John, he thinks he's too good to get on a bus. Like, he's too good to get on a bus with common folk. That's the sort of mentality my older brother... I don't know if he's grown up yet. This is how he was the last time I seen him. Anyway, so this is because we grew up in the grounds of a private school. So he always viewed himself as the poor kid of the poor family on the private school ground sort of thing. And I get that because he's a thick twat. So he's always grown up thinking I need to have lots of money and I need to have expensive things so I never feel like that poor kid in the poor family again. And that's my entire brother's life. His entire life is built around this idea that he needs expensive things and lots of money so he's not this poor kid in the poor family, right? That's how he viewed himself. That's not how anyone else viewed him. That's how he viewed himself, right? And so his entire life has been built up on money being more important than children, money being more important than a devoted wife, money being more important than parents who actually give a fuck about you. Like, money being so important that you would literally be a degenerate as long as you had some money. You don't care. That sort of person, right? It's all psychologically built from when my brother was younger. And what was my point?
And clearly, I'm not the only person who thinks that.
Oh yeah, so unfortunately he's got this idea that money makes the man, the clothes make the man. He builds his entire self-value off his material wealth, whereas I build my self-value off I guess my achievements and my abilities. I don't build my value off material things like the rest of my family. My families are very much they're very shallow people. Very shallow people. This is the reason why I don't speak to them, because money always meant more to them than me. So I always decided that money was never going to mean much to me because it was always more important than me. So I don't really care about money, to be honest. I still, at 36, 35, with an 11-year-old child, struggled to care about money because money was always more important than me. Even my brother now, I think, would think he's too good to get on a public bus. I honestly think he would. I honestly think thinks he's too good for it. I haven't seen him in probably 10 years, but I'd put money on it. I'd put 100 quid on it.
Because I've made clear my position and my commitment to working class communities, the community that I am from. People in their thousands told me on the doorsteps and at the ballot box that what we are sick of is being let down and looked down on. That we are sick of our hard work making other people rich.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Here's a little story for you guys. So when I worked for TalkTalk in 2007 at a place called CJ Garland's, an outsourcer in South Shields, the owner of that business later got charged for financial fraud and money embezzlement and stuff like that. So about 1.2 million TalkTalk customers, their services weren't working because Windows XP Service Pack 2 had an update. And for some reason, the routers were working fine, the line was working fine, but these people's computers just weren't connecting. And nobody could work it out. And some guy phoned me, some old guy, TalkTalk customer, and he said to me on the phone, well, don't you think you should work it out? It's your job. I'm technical support, second line. It was right, it was my job. And I sat there and I was like, well, I tell you what, sir, I'll go home and I'll research it and I'll try and figure it out and try and bring in a solution. Because I literally had done everything that we were allowed to do. So I said to him, I'll go home, I'll do some research, figure out what's really going on here, and then come back to you. So I went home, basically Googled what was going on with the server, and it turned out there was a console command that nobody knew in my place of work, and I'd never heard of, and I was a qualified computer engineer, network engineer. The netstat reset. It's this code, right? This code here, and a few other ones, right? We were allowed to do a Winsock reset. not Winsock, IP config reset. But we weren't allowed to. No one had ever heard of a Nets Winsock reset or a Nets int IP reset. I'd never heard of it as a qualified computer engineer anyway. So I did this reset on my computer at home, at my parents' house, and it didn't break the internet, it didn't break my computer, everything was fine. It was the first computer I ever built, actually, my own computer, that my dad threw across the room and broke. Fucking bellend. He literally threw the first computer I ever built across the room, breaking the only picture I had of me and my best friend Harry, who died in a car crash, smashing it, and somehow I was still the bad guy. All for just because my room wasn't tidy. Apparently, throwing a £600 computer across the room and breaking a picture of me and my dead best friend who died in a car crash's frame, I was the bad guy. And so I said to my mum, "Oh, how would he feel if I smashed his photos of him and Eddie? You know?" And she's like, "You wouldn't dare. You wouldn't dare." I was like, "No, you're right. I wouldn't." But yeah, he did. And did I get an apology for that? No. Fucking smashed my computer because my bed wasn't made. Anyway, right. Where was I? Fucking get distracted there.
I lived in this constituency at one of the most difficult and challenging periods of my life. I saw how strong
There was once, right? There was literally once. My dad chucked me out of the house because I was looking for a job on my computer instead of going out asking door to door, right? And I was literally in the middle of writing an email to TalkTalk. And he came in my room. He was like, "What the fuck are you doing? Get out and look for a job." I was like, "I am looking for a job. I'm writing an email right now." He's like, "You can't find a job on a computer. Don't be so fucking stupid. Get out and look for a job now." And obviously, so I went out just to shut him the fuck up. And literally, the email I was writing to TalkTalk, I got this job that I was talking about. Anyway, so during this job for TalkTalk, I got the reset. I brought the command in to test out with the customer, and it fixed his problem. And I told my manager that I'd done it. I'd asked him for permission to do it because I was risking my job. And he gave me permission. He says, "You know, if this computer breaks, you lose your job. It's up to you." And I was like, "Okay, I'll risk it." Didn't break my computer, so I didn't see why it would break his. And it fixed his problem. And now that problem, that solution, got rolled out to every internet service provider in Britain, in Europe, and across the world. Now, obviously, when we move over to Windows 10 and Windows 8 and things like this doesn't apply anymore. But for the entire period of Windows XP, Service Pack 2, Windows 7, Windows Vista, it is highly likely at some point or another, your computer out there, you watching, was fixed by my solution that I brought into my employer. I wasn't rewarded for that. I wasn't thanked for it. Literally, I brought 1.2 million internet service providers, customers, back online like that, single-handedly, by doing my own work at home, unpaid. Nobody asked me. I did it on behalf of the customer because I take pride in my work. Did I get a thank you? No. Did I get a promotion? No. Did I get any sort of recommendation or compliment from my TalkTalk employer? No. Nothing. I got nothing. So working hard and solving literally a problem for a company that nearly brought them to bankruptcy, okay, and brought them lots of legal issues, I didn't even get a pat on the back. Not even a thank you. So what's the point in working hard these days? Like that's the point here. Like, what is the point? What is the point? That 1.2 million customers seems like nothing, right? But that solution was rolled out to Virgin, to Sky, to BT. It was rolled out to all the internet providers in Europe and to America. So for about a decade after that, what I had done, my work, was solving millions of people's problems around the world on a daily basis and allowing people to do their jobs in fixing people's computers that nobody else was doing before I told them how to do it, right? And I never got a thank you for it. You know, you don't get a thank you for this stuff. That's the job I was paid to do. But I did what I wasn't asked to do. I went above and beyond. I worked harder than everyone else. Got no thanks for it. And that's the point. That's not the only situation I've had this. I've done the same shit many times. I took more calls for this country during the swine flu hotline, during the swine flu pandemic than any other person in Britain. I took more calls for the swine flu team than any person in Britain. And I took great pride in it because if you gave a pregnant woman the wrong swine flu medication, it would cause a miscarriage, right? So our entire job was essentially to just work out if you were pregnant or not, and if you were, or you had certain conditions, you got this other medication, or you could die or have a miscarriage. That was it. 99% of the people I worked with didn't give a fuck. They just did the form and sent it off. They didn't care about checking, if you're pregnant or not. They didn't care. They treated it like it was blasé. I was the very first person the British government rang and brought back on board when the swine flu pandemic came back around to redo the job, because I was the best performing agent in the country. And I did a good job again. Probably not as good job as I did the first time. I was playing a lot of RuneScape at work. But, so there are literally thousands of women out there who didn't have a miscarriage and had their babies healthy because I did my fucking job. And I didn't expect a thank you for that, because that was what I was paid to do. But there's a lot of people out there seem to think I've done nothing for this country, or because they served in the military, they've done more than me. And it's just utter shit. Just because you've been a police officer or an ambulance driver or a firefighter doesn't mean you've done more than a teacher or a bin man. Does it? Does it?
The community was at holding things together. But I saw how much harder life is when the things around you are broken. The litter, the fly tipping, the dirty air. And when I moved, it became even clearer, and this is why I am fighting for the community that I lived in and that I still work in. Because I absolutely refuse to accept that we should ever have to move and leave our communities for good schools, a thriving high street and clean air. And I will not accept a society where having more money gets you a longer life expectancy. And so when it came to fighting for people here to stand in this election, well, how could I not fight? Because here, this is what we do. We fight for each other in this very diverse constituency, where our struggles might not always be the same, but where we know how hard life can be.
I'm sorry, I can't believe the monster raving loony party got more votes than Advance UK. It's just... it's fucking hilarious. In fact, wait there. Let's do a bit of maths here. The Tories got 706 votes, right? So if we work out 1% of that, is like 7.6, I guess. So 154 divided by 7. Fuck's sake. 154 divided by 7. Ha! The monster raving loony party got 22% of the votes the Tories got. That's brilliant.
And we stick together. Whatever our beliefs, our backgrounds, our colour or our level of education, we stick up for each other. And to those who voted for me, I know that earning your trust starts now. One vote on one night is not something I will take for granted or assume will happen again. I will earn your trust. And to...
That's the thing about political parties. It doesn't matter if she earns all your trust. It doesn't matter. She could earn all of your trust, not do a damn thing wrong, do a very good job, and then in a year's time, some heroin addict who was legally allowed to take heroin because the Greens allowed it, kill someone. Your party then gets flack for it. It doesn't matter how hard you work, does it? This is the problem with parties. You're responsible for every failure now of the Green Party. Everything the Green Party does wrong, and everything that is directed at the Green Party, will be directed at you, Hannah Spencer. I think you'd be far better off as an independent, but that's just me. I think you should leave the Green Party and do it independently. I think every politician and the Prime Minister should be independent. There shouldn't be political parties, and I perceive them as criminal gangs who defend the crimes of their members and their failures, even above promoting good policy.
For those who didn't vote for me, I will always work hard for you, and I will always be honest, and I will always be decent. To our Muslim communities who this week suffered an attempted attack during Ramadan, whilst I was being welcomed by women at a mosque in Longsight, someone just down the road walked into a mosque carrying an axe. And whilst we were gathered...
What the fuck's wrong with some people? Why go and... These places are holy places of worship. Holy places of worship. Holy places. It might not be your religion, and you might not view it as holy, and I don't view a mosque as holy because I'm not Muslim. But it's their sacred ground. It's their holy ground. You don't take weapons onto sacred ground. You ever go to a church and see a fucking gun, or a sword, or an axe? No. Or you go into a cathedral, do you see an axe or a gun? No. You don't take weapons into certain places, man. For fuck's sake. In fact, you shouldn't be carrying an axe around in the streets anyway.
And eating together.
Unless you're a lumberjack.
An act of terror could easily have taken place, and I can't and won't accept this victory tonight without calling out the politicians and divisive figures who constantly scapegoat and blame our communities for all the problems in society. My Muslim friends and neighbours are just like me, human. And of course, to our white working class communities, the background that I have become so proud to be from, we know how it feels to be looked down on, maybe because we didn't do well at school, maybe because we do dirty manual jobs, because we are shut out of places we should be in. To people here in Gorton and Denton who feel left behind and isolated, I see you and I will fight for you. Because whilst our communities may sometimes be labelled in different ways, the thing everyone seems to have underestimated here, especially over the last few weeks, is how similar we all actually are. How we have common ground, how we get along, how we...
It is better to focus on what unites us rather than what divides us. And the Tories and Reform and Restore all try and focus on division. Class wars, race wars, religion wars, sex wars, age wars. And I just don't want to live in a country full of division. I just don't. I want to live in a country that is united. United in the Olympics, united in the World Cup, united in our democratic processes for a better world and a better country, united in protecting our women and children and men. You all forget about the men who get attacked and always mention women and kids. Never mind. Don't worry about us men. It's just, we only suffer 80% of violent crime all over the world. Don't worry about it. Oh, just because it's a man who attacked us, yeah, don't worry about us. Okay, it's fine.
Stand up for each other. The cracks that were starting to show can be healed, and I believe that it is through offering people hope and a chance to do things differently and do things better. Now, to my customers, I'm sorry, but I think I might have to cancel the work that you had booked in because I'm heading to Parliament. And when I get there, I will make space for everyone doing jobs like mine. We will finally get a seat at the table. And to Layla, the little girl who I had the pleasure of meeting and holding this week. I promised you I would try and improve the world that you are growing up in.
Well, good, because that's what I'm trying to do as well for my little girl. I refuse to let my little girl be handed a worse world than the one I was handed. When I grew up in 2005, my generation was potentially handed the end of the golden era. As soon as the USA and the UK had invaded the Middle East, the financial and economic world went to shit, right? So 2004, 2003, 2002, 2001, 2000s, 1990, 1998, 97, I argue they are the golden years of humanity so far. So far, right? And since then, we haven't come close to life being as good. I just don't think we've come anywhere as close.
I told you that I am not perfect, but that I always try my best. I always try and do the right thing. Now, something exciting is definitely happening. And I invite you all to be part of it. Come and join the Green Party so that we can spread hope and win.
No, you should vote James Pope for Prime Minister. Even though, you technically can't because I'm not a political party and I think parties are the problem. So I'm not going to start a political party to try and stop political parties. That's counterintuitive. I need the people of this country to back me up that an independent should be able to run for Prime Minister. There should be a system in place for an independent to run in a general election for Prime Minister. There isn't. The only way an independent can win is if the members of the parties, the MPs, voted them in as Prime Minister, and they would never vote against their own political leader because they'd be voting themselves out of a job. So there is no process in which an independent man, can run for the leadership of this country. We don't live in a democracy. If you guys out there can change that and make the government allow me to run in an independent election for the general election to be Prime Minister, I will win. I will win. It's that simple. But I'm not going to go against my beliefs to become Prime Minister. I would rather spend the rest of my life gardening and living in peace and stating that parties are the problem than creating a political party to become Prime Minister to end political parties. It would make no sense. It's like starting a church to try and stop the church. Do you know what I mean? It's counterintuitive. It doesn't solve any problem for me. The problem is political parties. It's always party first, people second. And there's low battery. So thank you very much. Have a good one. Bye-bye.